Right, we have Chukwudi Okoli Ubaja with us this morning. Chukwudi, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Yeri. How are you doing?
Very well. And you?
Like your colors. Victor,
Good
Thank
morning.
you.
you're pairing up solidly.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Well, I'm okay.
All right, let's get into the papers straight away and see what the headlines are like this morning. We'll begin with the People's Daily. The People's Daily this morning leads with Constitution Amendment. Reps approve independent candidacy. That's the lead story here. Above that, we have PDP crisis. Senate caucus picks Tambuwal, Dixon, Aliero, others to meet party leadership. And weak Naira can boost exports, make Nigeria competitive, says Cardoso. That's right here. You can pick up a copy of the People's Daily, page 9. Will guide you on that story. And below the picture story, we have Don't Allow Ruling Party Stifle Democracy, Cripple Opposition, Marking-Day Task Media. Away from that, in a black strip, Judicial Panel of Inquiry reviews APC chairman accuses Governor Fubara of plots to implicate opposition figures. Refinery boost, Aliko Dangote now 65th richest person in the world with $28 billion. And night comes out to replace aging satellite before 2026, according to an official. And finally, from the People's Daily, Court hears NNPCL staff Cooperative Society leadership dispute, November 8. All right, let's see what the leadership looks like this morning. It leads with fiscal crisis, subsidy removal, Naira float saved Nigeria, according to World Bank. The riders, people are facing untold hardship. We risk being lynched. That's according to Bala Muhammad. FG declares end to fuel forex subsidies. Okay. Away from that, above the masthead, FG receives 846,000 doses of malaria vaccine. And on page 7, you can read up the story with the headline, most arms in hands of terrorists are government-owned, according to Ribadu. All right, so how did they get them? All right, let's move away. We have death toll in Jigawa tanker explosion, very sad, rises to 154. Finally, this morning, below the picture story, Nigeria exits aviation blacklist as rating hits 75.5%. All of that on page 18. Victor.
All right, I have the blueprint here with me, and on the front page, the lead story says, Jonathan to judiciary. Your verdicts on political cases may derail democracy. Knocks Supreme Court over PDP-APC crisis. Counter orders, conflicting judgments, appalling. That's according to IPAC. Of course, there's a picture story of INEC, one of those meetings. And the following story reads, INEC preparation for Ondo Guba peaks. Anambra holds November 2025. Electoral body readmits Abure's LP to Pali. Okay, and above the nameplate, Northeast APC stakeholders fight Tinubu on $37 billion foreign reserves. That story is on page 6. And then at the bottom strip here, fake CNG-powered vehicle explodes in Edo, 3 injured, page 7. Service of songs, Sanwo-Olu, Anyoku, others extol Iwanyawo's virtues, page 15. And FG receives 846,000 doses of malaria vaccine to combat disease, page 6. And just before I drop this, is the cartoon here. Many arms used for criminal activities belong to governments, says the female parrot. And the male parrot responds, so the governments are collaborators. Well, I didn't say so.
Well, Victor, it's not as if people have not been talking about black legs within the security forces. Mm-hmm. But for the National Security Advisor to come out so openly,
blatantly,
it couldn't get worse than this. You know, this is the third time I'm saying it. I watched a program on a television station, and when the Interpol man there were 3 of them. When it got to his turn, and they said, how do we tame insurgency? What do we do? He looked at the interview and said, Nigerians should learn to be God-fearing. What is happening out there is evil. I wanted to hear the usual kinetic, non-kinetic, blah, blah, blah. He said Nigerians should learn to be God-fearing. His Interpol, he should know. Nuhu Ribadu should know. He's the National Security Advisor. I don't know whether to say shame on us. I don't understand it. How can anyone want to take fruits from fatal misery against his fellow man? Because when you give those weapons to the bandits, insurgents, whatever name they go by, you know that they are going to use it against defenseless civilians. Not even the defenseless civilians alone. They are going to use it against your own people, your colleagues. So how safe are the good soldiers among those who are ratting on the system? This is not good. Victor,
It's the height of it.
this is not good. It came from Nuhu Ribadu. We should be ashamed of ourselves.
You eventually said so.
It's not right. And elsewhere, Jonathan is telling the judiciary, that's the former president, that their verdicts are a problem to democracy. I don't know. Jonathan is not a lawyer. I don't think he is. But so he couldn't possibly be talking to his learned colleagues, learned friends. But he has been president. He's been receiving a lot of reports from everybody. So he became intelligence itself during his time. I'm sure that past presidents still have people who can reliably inform them about things happening within the polity.
But you don't have to be a past president. You
Yeah.
don't have to be privy to top, certain details to see conflicting judgments.
Well,
you just see it there.
If you and I...
That this court here says this, and another court at the same level says that.
The problem
Then
is
battle
that
rages.
we can't afford to be categorical, you and I, because we didn't read law. In fact, if we put on the wig now, they will tell us it's wig on an empty head.
But we read,
because you're not their learned
judgments.
friends. But
We see them.
Going to what you're talking about, Victor, there are some judgments, conflicting judgments you hear. Even a moron would know that something is wrong. So you say, NJC, what are you doing? The National Judicial Council, can you rescue us? I know that to impugn the integrity and independence of a judge is not the best. He should have reasonable autonomy, to declare judgments. But when things are not happening to the people's expectation or to the people's well-being, I mean, you hear so many injunctions that fly in the face of one another. And life goes on.
For context, it was the 67th birthday celebration of the learned senior advocate Michael Zekone. And in his own reaction, a former NBA president, also a senior advocate, Olisa Abakoba, said, I felt very sad that the country has got to that level. So it isn't just Jonathan.
Exactly. These are people who know law, backing up Jonathan's, stance. Well, the good thing is that 846,000 doses of malaria vaccine are in the country now. Other ailments are a problem to the African continent, but malaria still remains the biggest killer. Because of the kind of... I have had to take malaria drugs. In fact, I took three tablets this morning. That's quite unlike me. I could stay 9 months without, getting malaria. Is it that the drugs are no longer efficacious, or I'm getting old? I know you'll choose the last option.
Because it's
Gary, I
obvious.
think you're more favorably disposed towards me.
Not anymore. So as regards the vaccine, I just hope that they get to the hinterlands because they're most affected, and treatment is also very far away from people, I mean, in rural areas. So, you know, it's not just to concentrate in the urban areas and distribute the vaccines.
You mean when eventually they come in millions? 846,000 doses wouldn't even get to the hinterland of one state's community.
No, but I mean, they should start from there.
Yeah.
You know, that's
whenever
just,
it comes,
whenever
it should start from.
You know, those who are most affected and who don't have access to adequate
those
health care.
in what state?
Malaria is not supposed to kill anybody. Malaria
Anyways,
is not supposed to kill anybody.
Something that shouldn't kill anybody is the CNG-powered vehicle. Well, there's a new twist to it in the country now. There was an explosion at Benin NIPCO.
Yes.
Investigation reveals that a welder fabricated the CNG cylinder that exploded. Now, I mean, people trying to get to CNG,
Yes.
you get welder to fabricate your cylinder. Okay, yeah. And you know, we should prevent this from, you know, escalating. I'm just saying that in the bid to cut costs and, you know, just find a way around the whole fuel situation. I mean, they should be properly screened before they're filled by, you know, the stations that, you know, dispense CNG.
Once upon a time, the standards organization stood high there, and you couldn't easily adulterate the market with anything that was unfit for consumption. I don't know whether they are still the way they were. When I was in secondary school, into the early days in the university, the Nigerian Standards Organization was doing so well. So who is supervising? How can you give a CNG container to a welder to fabricate there? Well, they will tell you it's still welding work, you know, that quick said. But it will be
chemicals.
exactly. It would have so many inputs that ensure their integrity, you know, with the containers. It's not something that a roadside person puts together. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And you know,
sense.
like cooking gas, a lot of people do not get to check expiry date of the cylinders of cooking gas.
Yes.
I mean, some people use theirs for a long time. It's rusted. I mean, they just continue to use, not mindful of the fact that it could pose a serious risk. Now, for these cylinders that will be used, you know, for vehicles, I also think that Nigerians should pay attention to the expiry date, because I believe it would also have expiry date. So that, you know, I mean, we don't now move to CNG and then begin to have a lot of accidents and explosions and people dying as a result of negligence.
One of the pitiable, you know, reasons for this is the seeming ad hoc nature of getting into it. When you don't plan out a project properly, implementation becomes a problem somewhere. It doesn't quite go as smoothly as we want it to go. But I am sure that over time we are characteristically going to trudge into usability and maybe reasonable safety. But how many corpses would we have left on the trail? That's the point.
All right.
I'm sure those who should listen are listening and would think about it at least.
Yeah. All right, think about it. Maybe we should commend the First Lady. So much efforts these days. I don't know if you've been following the news. She was in Borno yesterday, again, to support the victims of the flood. And then she gave 250 million naira, that's a whole lot of money, and relief materials, which were airlifted by the Nigerian Air Force. I mean, that's a big plus, and of course it will support the people of Borno, you know, just to mention. And then I think she was in OAU, you know, some days back, and, you know, the same effort, trying to give back and make sure that Nigerians are as comfortable and happy as possible.
No,
So
the
we
good thing
First
about
Lady.
her is that she doesn't chase after publicity. Oluremi Tinubu has nice manners. There are three of them I admire. Oluremi Tinubu, Obasanjo's wife, the one that died, then Stella, then Miriam Babangida. I will never forget these women. Ladies of class, they had courage, you know? So anytime I hear Oluremi Tinubu talk, when she was a senator, you could see that she was a most, you know, well-behaved person in terms of her utterances. It gets some people who get better home training. That's the point.
All right, home training. it would always expose itself. Let's leave the conversation on newspaper review at this point. Many thanks, Chukudi, for joining us.
Thanks a
Hope to see you
lot.
next week.
And thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's
I wonder
Friday.
what your
Do you
plans
have
are.
fuel? Do you have fuel in your car to have
Malaria
fun?
knocks on my door. I feel it.
All right, so that's it. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get into the conversation. It's a mental health. You want to stay tuned for this. Stay with us.